At around 2 a.m. on June 30th, 2009, Yemenia Flight 626 crashed into the Indian Ocean. 152 people perished in the crash, but one 14-year-old French girl survived to tell the story. Bahia Bakari was aboard the Airbus A310 when it crashed and was ejected from the plane. She had no life jacket and little swimming ability. She was able to stay afloat using a piece of the plane's wreckage. She reported later that following the crash, she heard voices of the other survivors through the noise and chaos, but that these voices eventually faded away, and she was left all alone. At around 11 a.m., 9 hours after the crash, she was found by a civilian boat that had joined in efforts to search for survivors. Bahia was the only survivor that was found. Her mother, who had been traveling with her for a summer vacation, was among those who had died in the crash. After her rescue, she was transported by private jet back to France, where she was reunited with her father and the rest of her family. Her odds of survival were slim to none, but she was the only person of the 153 passengers to survive, and only left the horrific accident with injuries such as a fractured pelvis, broken collarbone, and burns. In May 2013, Gary and Susan Whaley were on their way home from a day at Lake Eufaula. A violent weather system had been brewing, with tornadoes tearing across central Oklahoma, claiming the lives of many. One of these was an EF4 tornado, and it was right in the Whaley's path. Gary drove while Susan shot video with her cell phone as they attempted to get to an underpass where they thought they would be safe. The last thing the Whaleys remember is being sucked out of their car as the tornado picked up their SUV. Susan fell to the ground with her phone still in her hand recording. Suddenly, there was silence. Susan, who didn't suffer much other than some bruises and scratches, found Gary 50 feet away. He sustained 2 broken hips, 2 broken feet, and 7 broken ribs. Their dog Rocky was found 4 days later, trapped under tornado debris.
This is 911.
My daughter was just kidnapped. Top of the hill was a great ford. A man and a woman in the car.
While waiting for her school bus with her stepfather not far away, JC Lee Dugard was snatched by a man and a woman driving by. Her stepfather attempted to follow but quickly lost the car. A massive manhunt ensued with police out in full force, but unfortunately, the trail was cold. She was raped, beaten, and treated like an animal. Worst of all, she gave birth to 2 children at the age of 14 and 18, with her abductor being the father. 18 years later, her captors, Philip and Nancy Garrido, made a mistake. They brought JC Lee and the 2 children she had while in captivity to a parole appointment. Investigators noticed that Philip was acting suspicious, and he ended up admitting to kidnapping JC Lee when she was 11 years old. For 18 years, JC Lee was confined to soundproof sheds in Garrido's backyard, totally isolated from the outside world. Okene, a Nigerian tugboat cook, awoke early on May 26, 2013. While in the bathroom, Okene reported the boat keeling over. It had hit an ocean swell and plummeted 100 feet below the surface in the dark as the boat continued to rock violently as it fell to the ocean floor. Okene struggled to free himself from the restroom and find somewhere safe. He found a cabin and waited for rescue as the water continued to rise. Okene worried about his colleagues, hoping they were okay, locked in their cabins due to traveling in waters frequented by pirates. His worry increased as he heard sharks and barracudas swimming around and feeding on things inside the ship. Okene was able to survive in a small air pocket for 3 days, freezing in the chilling waters wearing only a pair of boxers, before being rescued by a dive team who had already recovered 4 dead bodies and did not suspect there would be any survivors. Against all odds, he survived on a source of light, limited air, and a bottle of Coca-Cola. A Polish woman named Michalina Lewandowska was buried alive by her fiancé. After growing bored of his relationship, he conspired with a friend to get rid of Michalina. The fiancé and his friend attacked her with a stun gun and bound her wrists and ankles to prevent escape. They stuffed Michalina into a cardboard box and drove her into the wilderness to bury her alive. Michalina was buried under 4 inches of earth in a 90-pound tree branch. She says she was was praying to live so that she could care for her then 3-year-old son. With this in mind, Michelina used her engagement ring to cut herself loose and then clawed her way out of her shallow grave.